Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Let's Play. Today we're going to be touring this world and just going over all the builds that we've constructed over the last 2 years in this 1.16 world. This will also serve as a milestone and kind of like capping off of the 1.16 portion of the series, as we do plan to update the world to the newest version in the next episode. And real quick before we begin, I just want to say that I have 2 new resource packs, the first allowing for the armor to be invisible, and the second being this conversion of the pumpkin hat into this very festive Santa hat. And this resource pack was shown to me by another YouTuber, Itat, so please check out their stuff if you haven't already. And as of recording, this is the day after Christmas, so Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate and Happy Holidays to those who don't. Okay, so without further ado, this is our island, or set of islands, you could call it. And so we discovered this island, or decided to settle down here in September 5th of 2022. And so this was a little over 2 years ago. And since then we've built quite a few things on this island and completely redone the entire exterior, as well as built a base inside. But real quick, let me go about how we even got to settling down on this island. So over here is spawn, and we spawned right in this village. You can see here. And in the first episode, we kind of just explored around and got our bearings, and ultimately I decided to try and build a map in the first episode so we could set sail in this very vast ocean. And so for the next 2 episodes, we basically went all the way around here, and I'm just going to try and move my cursor in the direction of our adventure. And so after running into this jungle and sailing around it, we went over here to the western part of the South Ocean, and we eventually found these 2 islands, which are really nice in terms of location. So there are 3 reasons we ultimately decided to settle here. The first being that this surrounding area is completely warm ocean, and there's also a guardian farm right next to these 2 islands. The third reason is that this was very close to this desert continent, and because this is an ocean-themed world, I wanted to make sure we had a vast reservoir of sand at our disposal to create a lot of glass, such that we could go about and build a lot of things underwater. Which is kind of funny because aside from the Guardian Farm, we haven't really constructed too heavily with glass. I mean, we do have a little bit of glass in this base, and actually quite a bit in the nether, as you'll see. But yeah, that's something I definitely want to get around to once we update the world, as we will have, at least with my quick guesstimation, about 2x the number of blocks that we're currently using in 1.16. So really excited to do that, and hopefully we'll start to construct outward into the ocean and really start to build a lot of new things. I forgot to mention why I even wanted to start this series. I had been watching people play Minecraft on YouTube for quite a number of years and really wanted to participate in the fun, if you will. Before starting this series, my playstyle was very grindy in nature, and I really didn't like that per se, because like 80% of this game is building things and creating, so I really wanted to improve my building over the course of this series, and hopefully I've achieved that, but you could let me know in the comments if that's actually the case, because who knows, maybe I'm kidding myself. Alright, but for the actual island itself, I'm going to quickly pop up the original terrain here on the screen. And as you can see, it's got a couple of oak trees, birch trees. It's got a small little cave over here, which you can see 2 openings and then 1 in the back. And then also this little hill in the very center. While we kept the general features of the terrain, I'll pop back over to the modern rendition of this island now. You can see that we completely revamped the vibe of this environment. So now we have this very much arid climate, and we have very unique trees that are all custom made. And these are all baobab trees, and I really wanted to try these out as my first custom trees. I do like how they turned out, and I don't know, it's just pretty unique. I haven't really seen anyone construct these in their survival world on YouTube, but then again, I'm not particularly well versed in what's been done before. In any case, so I built several of these smaller ones, 2 medium-sized ones, one on the peninsula over here, one on the hill, and then finally this very large baobab tree, which I have to say this is in the contention for one of my favorite builds in this world. And so overall, although we kept the general terrain the same, we made it more traversable by the inclusion of these jungle stairs, as well as various planks throughout the landscape. And important to the island's construction was the ability to get around or walk around and making that efficient. So it has very much a circular path, which is meant to make it more traversable and just enjoyable to walk around. Over here we have this additional structure, and I wanted to make this look like a rocky outcrop. The kind of rock that you would see from magma rapidly cooling once it's risen to the surface by lava. And so this entire beach is more or less an experiment, as this was the first time that I had used blackstone in the overworld, and I just thought it really contrasted nicely with the sand, especially at night, which is kind of funny because it's like darker, but I don't know, it just looks very, very beautiful. And so this rocky outcrop, it was designed such that you could climb it very easily, and this serves a dual purpose of an elytra takeoff, so you can glide over to the neighboring island, or even to the Guardian farm over there, which you can see in the distance. Okay, so we have this little kind of terrace thing where we have these sweetberry bushes, and these typically do that. So I'm very much considering changing these out for the different blocks that will be available, but for now they're going to stay because they add a little bit of nice red color, which we have sprinkled in here and there throughout the island. Over here we have a very small composter, which I've actually never used. And then lastly on this peninsula, originally it was just sand, and I thought it looked a little plain, so I ended up putting our project board here. We've since located the end portal, as you can probably tell by the elytra, but the other projects we haven't really done yet, so we'll be getting to those after we update the world. But I do like this project board because it filled out the space here, and if you just look at it, it's very distraction free if you ignore these drowned nearby, which have just been really the bane of my existence on this island because they spawn so frequently. You can probably tell that those are also the motivation for lighting up the sea, but since the mob spawning generation will change in the new update, we'll see how much the drowned bother us then. Okay, so moving into the actual base itself, we descend down into this cave where the slope was originally here, but I added these stairs to make it more traversable. And here we enter into the center area of the cave, which this is actually the natural structure more or less. And the reason this entire cave is sandstone is one, I wanted to really experiment with building with this block and this texture. And so I was very much inspired to build this cave similar to sandstone caves in real life that you would see, where the center point often collapses because that's where the weight is not supported, and so you have these holes in the very top. And so I left it like this as such. This room is more or less an entryway or kind of a vestibule for this space, and it features our map wall, and eventually started to house things like our potion making ingredients and just nether wart, and also the seasonal Christmas tree, which, yeah, we got some presents. Going to the right, this was our first attempt at building a storage room, and this was originally just a 1 block thin little cave that led out to the back entrance there, and we've since widened it and also converted this to a full glass panorama view, where our enchanting table is here with an aquarium floor at the bottom. I typically keep all my books here, but I'm looking to revamp this once we have the chiseled bookshelves, and maybe just expand this a bit more since the storage is kind of running out at this point. Over here we just have our gear improvements, so the smithing table, the anvil, and just generally gear and whatnot. Alright, in between episodes I did manage to get a duplicate of my armor, so that's like good to go. And yeah, I also made these other types of gear which I do plan to convert into netherite probably after this episode or maybe while I'm streaming. In any case, the storage room has been here since episode 4 or 5, I want to say, and we've definitely gotten good use out of it. Currently, this is just kind of temporary storage for rarer blocks. We have since increased the base to another level, and more items are stored down there. So going back to the center room, this area over here was more or less natural. I just replaced the blocks with sandstone, and over here we just have this small dock where sometimes I fish, and I keep all the fishing supplies over here in these chests. This last portion of the cave that was naturally generated is this room over here. Originally the plan was to make this into a mine, but I didn't really want to have things like climbing up from the depths. So here I housed all of our chickens, including the very first 2 chickens, so Marine, who joined us in our temporary villager house by spawn after the first night, and then also Float, who was our very first sea chicken in the series, and just kind of came from the sea when we were fishing. These other chickens are also sea chickens that just appear in the ocean due to a glitch, so the zombie jockey suffocates and then these float to the surface, and that's how we get so many chickens on this island. But in any case, this room did not end up being a mine entrance, so I didn't really have a good purpose for it, therefore I converted it to a chicken coop. I really wanted to keep these birds out of harm's way, and the drown throwing tridents was not conducive to that. And so we have a small little nest over here, some water, just some food for them, and this little, I want to call this a roost, but they typically like to jump off it, so it's entertaining to watch them. They also have this little tree over here. I don't know how this survives without light, but we're not going to worry about that. In addition to having the fence carpets, I've also made this small little closet, which absolutely serves no purpose, but it's there. Alright, so moving on to the actual bedroom. I've always wanted a loft bedroom, and I was very much inspired by another YouTuber who had a really big house and constructed a similar loft bedroom back, I want to say, in the 100s of their very, very long series. And so, as a result, I also wanted to make one, but my take on the loft bedroom is that it is at sea level, so I have this awesome view where I can see the other island from the bedroom, and I can just keep like various cool things. So here we have the map of our two islands. Definitely does not look like natural terrain anymore. And we also have storage for our valuables, my favorite blocks, sea lanterns, an ender chest, and just our little notebook where we can write down notes and whatnot. So this map is a picture of our very first jungle temple that we found and explored early on in the series. And then over here I just keep loot from the end that we get. And not to be left out, the most important thing in our bedroom is our cat Aqua, who we rescued from a witch in the swamp just to the south of spawn, so right over in this area. So sometimes she comes with us out on boating adventures, but more or less she and the chickens are just watching this place for us. So yeah, that about does it for the loft bedroom. I have two entrances, don't ask me why, but one leads to the beach, and then the other leads to the back, so we can kind of go to that area as well. So that about does it for the naturally generated part of the base. Everything after this has been dug out. So here, I ended up building another hallway because I wanted another glass window because I thought this view was pretty cool into the ocean. And it also serves as a small little working corner where we can do things such as make banners or work on our maps. So here we have a map of the first mushroom island we discovered. It's to the east. That's where we got our two cows. I also have a map of the end, and as you can see, I've explored it pretty reasonably, I would say. So that's that. So moving down over here, eventually we needed more storage, so I designated this chest as another drop chest, in addition to this barrel up here, and both of these lead down to our automatic sorting system, which is here on level 2. So more or less we just have valuables that you can get from mining, as well as common mob drops and things that you tend to have a lot of bulk of. You might notice that stone and all those other blocks are not over here. They are simply stored in these manual bulk rows. So we have all our materials over here as well. The basement looks a little plain because it lacks some details. I'm not typically down here in a very long capacity, usually just run down here, grab the stuff and go back up. But we do have this little pathway where you can see a little bit deeper into the ocean. Maybe not with these shaders, but this does connect around so you can walk around to the other side. Ultimately, I do want to put a underwater rail system that leads to the other island, or I guess the villager island. So that's something that's a work in progress. And this is just filler space to put whatever we want here, I suppose. Underneath the stairs over here, we have a lot of our memorabilia items. So things like the first emerald, the first flower that we found, poppy that I found in a deep sea cave, first netherite, things of that nature. We also have some music discs, as well as the first things we got from the end, some diamonds we found in a pyramid, just random stuff like that. And then here I have some maps that I need to figure out what they do or how to organize them, but yeah. Over here we have a small little smelter, which is fueled by lava, and this is kind of the workhorse for our smelting in the overworld. And then finally we have a little bit more storage underneath these stairs. This is mostly like redstone and just greenery type items, just miscellaneous stuff. And then if you go up these stairs, you pop out right by the bedroom. So we have two entrances, and there's actually a third secret entrance. So here, this water stream leads down, so it's a quick way to get to the bulk storage of very common items like wood and stone and glass. Alright, so that pretty much does it for the base itself. Next, we're going to go to the other island, and we're going to do so through our cool little underwater passageway. And so, funny story, I built this because I wanted just a quick way to get to the other island without having to go up, boat across, and do all that stuff. So I built this track, and very simple design. And this video where I built this underwater tunnel has actually been my most popular video. I think it just really is nostalgic, the way it's constructed, and it kind of is reminiscent of older Minecraft, or at least that's my working theory. In any case, I'm very grateful that video took off because it definitely motivated me to continue this channel for sure. So over here we have a small structure, and basically I was just experimenting with how to use concrete and kind of incorporating this into the build. I have some tropical fish up here. Both of these passageways lead downward to the diamond mine, but first let me just show you this island over here. So we have 2 cows, which have been here for really forever, and that one's named Axel, and I don't think this one has a name. I don't know how Axel got down here, but I think this cow, when a creeper blew up, they might have like fallen in here or something, but they've been here over a year and it's been funny. Alright, so here we are on the other island, and one of the very first builds that I built in this series, I want to say it was like episode 8, was this diamond mine entrance. This ended up being a small build that I wanted to challenge myself with, only using 1 wood type and just trying to see if I could really make it look good with just jungle wood. And this was constructed in the new year of 23, and I think it turned out pretty good. If you go up these stairs, this takes you to the main part of the island, where on the left we have this windmill structure, and really this doesn't serve any purpose other than to store saddles. Originally I had a bed here, but I've since moved it because I've never slept here. And here you can see the underwater tunnel from, I guess, our viewpoint. And it does look really nice, I will say. And over there is the Guardian Farm, which we'll check out later. If you go up these stairs, you can see I tried to design a turn wheel based on actual windmills. And then finally there's an attic here to hide whatever you want. Even though I do like this build, it's a little simple, and you know, in retrospect, it doesn't really fit the same vibe now that we've gone with this arid theme over there. This is very much a kind of like cottagecore style, and so I'm thinking of revamping this island entirely and going with a new theme altogether. And so anyways, that topic aside, we also have a barn here which houses a couple of animals, so these alpacas and some more cows. And these 2 are the original parents of all the cows used in our cow farm, which ironically has become obsolete due to the amount of hoglins that I have to fight in the nether. So we have really not used this for leather, which is kind of a good and a bad thing, I suppose. Even though, again, this barn is very cottage style, or just like not matching the arid theme we have going on over there, I am very proud of this barn because it was the first build that I had constructed that involved a diagonal pathway. So I'm very proud of that, even though I don't really think this build will stay in the long term. On the right over here, I made a little stone pathway that leads to this odd looking dock, and I definitely want to revamp this too in the future because it does not look good. But that's okay. This series is about learning and improving building, not just always building cool stuff. That's not how it works. And then finally, so because I knew the cow farm would be loud, I wanted to put our nether portal over here, and I did so in the form of this kind of spooky looking cave. And we'll just go ahead and go to the nether right now. I'll set my respawn point. I will mention that we do have pumpkin head mobs over here, which I guess are festive mobs due to the resource pack. But yeah, these 2 were, I think I captured them around in the year of 22. Yeah, Halloween. So I wanted to get them there for whatever reason, and they've been there for about 2 years now. Alright, so let's check out the nether. Okay, so for those of you who have not seen this world's nether before, you're in for a treat. This is not an illusion. There is actually glass covering the entire floor of the nether, and it is quite extensive. So I mentioned before that my original playstyle was very grind oriented, and this is kind of what I meant by that. I really enjoy mining for ancient debris. It's just a nice way to relax after you've been thinking all day at work or just had a lot of stuff to deal with, and you can just mindlessly mine netherite. So playstyle aside, what I end up doing is after mining this out and encountering ancient debris, I replace it with sea lanterns. And I've done so in about 2 of these quadrants, and these quadrants correspond to a fully zoomed out map's worth in the overworld. So I think it's 16 by 16 chunks. But yeah, we've been able to clear out 2 of these basically from y equals 14 all the way to 20. And as you can see, it's pretty diminishing returns as you go upward. Definitely you want to mine at this y equals 14 level. Yeah, another reason why I wanted to mine all this out is because I wanted to avoid having to use the smithing templates once the world is updated. So that's why we did that. Over here is my nether brick chest monster. And so this is pretty much the result of all of the netherrack that's been cleared out and smelted down using one of our 2 super smelters, the other one being over there. Maybe this isn't the most creative project, but I do think it does look cool. And the best thing is that the glass makes this spawn proof. So over here, this is our storage system and it's getting kind of full now that I look at it. Definitely need to improve our storage space in the future, but for now, this'll do. I've collected the little piglins and you can't see the armor on them now, but they all have decked out gold armor. So they're in this pin, and sometimes they have things spawn in here like this little hoglin and they do weird stuff. Pretty entertaining. So this direction leads towards spawn, and that's kind of why I've been clearing all of this out. I've also started to clear out this quadrant, and you can see how I go about doing this. So first I mine this bottom layer, then I do the top, and then finally, after clearing out all the lava and stuff, I mine the middle layer. And this prevents gas from spawning, which is just horribly annoying because they do break the glass with their fireballs. This quadrant hasn't really been super productive in terms of ancient debris, but it is what it is, and I'll probably mine a little bit more of this on stream after this episode is released. But yeah, this really does make for a convenient way to get around the nether, and hopefully we can take advantage of this more in the future as this area just continues to get larger and larger. So we'll take this portal over here because I want to show you a build in the east part of the world real quick. So we are here over close to by that very large bamboo peninsula or outcrop that I showed you on the map. And this is our little Panda Island sanctuary, where we've more or less taken all the pandas, or almost all the pandas we have found on the mainland, and brought them here so they're safe and sound. Bob has been taking care of these pandas, and he's been doing a good job. Nothing to report, right? Excellent. Yeah, so he's been taking care of the pandas over here, so I have nothing to worry about. And over here is probably my least favorite build. So I was going for this very modern type of reservoir structure, something you would find in like a zoo or a very like fancy preserve where the theme is like conservation. And what I wanted to do was just take advantage of this natural sand pit and build it into this underground bunker where we could observe the pandas from below in their natural environment, with the hope of like not disturbing them, if you will. Of course, with every house that I built or every area that I've settled down in, we have 2 chickens, Salt and Pepper. They are also just vibing over here. And yeah, this little glass canyon is where we observe the pandas and just watch what they do all day. Because this is a jungle biome or a bamboo jungle, we do have the ocelots spawning naturally, which is kind of cool. I've never actually tried to tame them. I don't know what happens when you do that or if you can, but yeah. In any case, so I converted the sand pit into this underground bunker where we have a little bit of storage, a bed and some crops, and a map wall which I have since not placed here, unfortunately. So that's something I gotta get on. But definitely, this is another one of the builds I want to work on in the future. I think I've improved my building style since then, but I think the worst offense of this entire build are these stairs that lead to this, I don't even know what to call this enclosed porch, and then this just leads out to the back. Yeah, this is probably the definition of taking minimal too far. Not really much else to report here. There's a small cave where I found a witch back in the day, but that's pretty much it for this island and this build. Yeah. I don't know, just looking at it, it makes me laugh. Stuff like this is why I think I've improved on my building, but again, I don't know. You all are the judge. I just want to have fun. Alright, so heading back over to the nether. So this portal leads to home. This portal leads to our villager island. And this portal leads to the continental area, which I'll show you next. Okay, so once upon a time, this was a desert hill biome. And you can see this in episode 4 if you care to go back and rewatch those episodes. Since then, I've completely leveled this out, and this is more or less served as the place where I get the sandstone to build on the island over there. So around episode 10, we also started to cure villagers and trade with them, and this was the original trading setup that I had built. I've since moved all these villagers to the neighboring island where they're more safe and kind of just left the structure here. What I did do is I've kept our animals over here, since they do have a tendency to wander away. So this is our only horse we've tamed in the world, and his name is Keen. He's a very observant horse, which is why he's got a keen eye for detail, hence the name. And this is a donkey that I had recently come across over in the acacia biome, right over there. And so you might be wondering why I haven't done anything with this island other than farm trees. The main thing is that I have an idea for a biome I want to build here, like a custom one, not one that you would find in the overworld. So that's what I'm leaving this area for. I've also mined out the bottom part of this area, and yeah, this is also where I collect other block-based resources for the world. But that's pretty much all I have over here, other than storage. I do tend to come out here to hunt for creepers and get gunpowder, since we do not have a creeper farm, and I think it's getting to the point where it would be worthwhile to construct that, because I really don't have a lot of time nowadays to record, and just getting gunpowder to fly around is very much, I don't know, it's not something I want to do. Oh, another horse. Interesting. Oh, speaking of horses, I just remembered. So we do have these skeleton horses off the coast here. There are also some underwater near the base. I really have no idea what to do with them, but they are there if you happen to be touring this world and want to, I don't know, make a stable of them. Alright, so we'll go a little further to this very, very far portal for our next area. So I do not believe I've ever shown this area on camera, but this is essentially where I get all the crops to trade villagers. And so we are on the continent now, and there's a village right over there where I've used to kind of gather everyone up and have them trade for books over here. Ultimately, I do want to transfer all of these folks to the villager island, but since I haven't built the structure to house all of them yet, I want to leave them here where they've been safe and sound for many, many days. We do have this other small cat over here. I also want to transfer her to the villager island. But effectively, this area just serves as a way to get emeralds and a way to get glass for the nether. This is just a small underground farm. The actual village itself looks horrendous because I've also hunted mobs over here. Yeah, it's a cool village, but it needs some TLC. And I also farm trees up here, so a very, very farm-intensive area similar to the last location, but I did want to show it since it's quite a useful and valuable part of this world, and so I think it's important to show this kind of stuff. In any case, let's go back to the nether to tour the final location. Oh yeah, so regarding all this ancient debris that we've collected, clearly it's a lot, and we've since used it to make a full set of nether pickaxes. So this is what I use to just mine out this area, and because there's so many, we don't have to go outside of the nether and get them repaired very often, so that's wonderful. But I used most, I want to say like 60% of the ancient debris in this quadrant to make all of those pickaxes and our current tools. For the remainder, which we mined out on stream, I have it all here. So quite a bit, actually. I'm going to use this to convert those other armor sets into netherite, and then maybe make a couple more like shovels and axes just in case. I also have some swords that could use some trimming as well. But yeah, I forgot to mention that, so sorry. Alright, so for our last major location, aside from the Guardian Farm, so this is our city of Alchemy. And the lore here is that the villagers are very intelligent, and they have been here a lot longer than me. And so they were the ones to teach me enchanting, give me books, teach me magic, I guess, by extension. And they all live over here on this island and have been here for a very long time. Here is the island as it was before it was constructed upon. And since then, we've built this out pretty dramatically, I would say. One thing I really enjoy about this island is this very large sand hill, or mountain, if you will. And for 1.16, this is an impressive mountain, I would say, especially for a medium-sized island such as this. But yeah, starting over here on the slopes of the village, we have this very peculiar looking tree. And so the lore behind this is that this tree originally had died, but the villagers resurrected it somehow with their abilities and their science. And so I use the end rods as this very peculiar looking fruit. Even though the tree is very unsightly, I like how weird it looks because it's kind of like a palm tree, but also much more wackier. So that's the story behind that. You have the small little lookout to the monument. Originally, I planned for this to be, I guess, the town center, but as I constructed it and the villagers kind of didn't want anything to do with it, I came up with the lore that this is a sacred monument that's going to have some secrets about it. And so we'll build upon this in more episodes in the future once we have access to lush cave materials. But for now, it serves as the effective center point of the village and kind of as the central node for all the various buildings around the village. So up here we have two masons and they sell stone and, bricks, all that good stuff. And then the path goes down here where we have the true village square. So originally I wanted to have all the villagers free roam or live amongst the surface, but even though I lit this place up just really extensively, a lot of villagers just ended up meeting their untimely demise, and so we had to remedy this with a different location. So that's why there's no free roaming villagers that you can see right now in the square. But yeah, this is where things are supposed to happen and they're supposed to mingle. This building over here is meant to be an inn, so you have this little bar, the reception check-in, and a couple of rooms. So definitely have your budget rooms with a nice little ocean view, I will say. And then you have your higher end rooms at the very top, which are a little more expansive, but maybe a better view of the city overall. There's also this small little patio where ultimately I would like to build something on this little outcrop, and then the other room here. So pretty simple build. And you might be wondering what the color scheme is about. And so the lore we devised around here is that these blocks, they absorb the energy of the sun, so the photons, the ultraviolet radiation, whatever, and they convert it to useful energy. And these blocks are meant to be kind of the opposite. So as you power them, they cool down, so they're kind of like an anti-entropy material, something magical. They keep the overall village cool and they allow for the existence of, say, water on the desert surface, and they're just a very practical and like thermally insulating block. And I guess the color scheme and the style of this village is very, very roughly inspired by Link 2, for those of you who have played this very old video game. It's kind of meant to look like those buildings in the villages, but more of a modern take in Minecraft. Over here we have our smithy, and originally I had these lava pits uncovered because, you would dip them into there and then hammer them on the forge and then dip them in the water to make tools. But the villagers unfortunately pushed each other into these, and so we had like one villager left and then they got taken out by presumably a zombie or something. So that was really unfortunate because I put a lot of thought into this build. So you have a fan here which brings cool water from the river into this area. So not only does that heat the furnace and sweeps the heat from the furnace out that way, but it also keeps the villagers cool at night. And then finally they have a glass roof with the appropriate red sandstone blocks to insulate this building because it's really, really hot. And so I wanted to keep this like open air layout as much as possible. Anyways, so if you walk around the side here, there's a couple of outdoor workstations for the villagers. And then finally, if you take this path, we have the farmer's house. And they were able to devise a way to grow the crops above ground. And because the farmers are very much responsible for the villagers thriving over here, since they were able to devise a means of making crops, they have the biggest house. So they are the most wealthy and respected in the village, and I wanted to give them the luxury of a bath. Unfortunately, as you can see, a zombie seemed to have taken them out, even though I put a bunch of iron golems, but that's okay. Over here we have an entrance to a cave which I need to seal up, and formally I kind of want to make like a dungeon entrance to the cave system below on that sand island that we viewed from the patio of the inn. But that's for another time. If you continue down this path, you have the open air fountain, which again is related to the lore of these blocks. And then you have the House of the Three Priests, which somehow are the only villagers, aside from those two masons, that managed to survive in the open over here. And then over here you have another tree with that light emitting fruit. And then we have this oasis, which, funny story, this was the first thing that was built on this island. And I really struggled at first with the vision of this place. And I made this oasis in a very poor attempt at making the village, and very much a scuffed episode, I want to say, in terms of building. So after being pretty disappointed in myself, I scrapped everything and rebuilt the village as it is today, but I did keep the oasis here and built a couple of palm trees around it because I did think that this was like acceptable for the build, but definitely a funny story, I guess, overall. And then finally over here I have my chest monster, which is built around this naturally forming structure. I have really wanted to find a way to convert this into something, I don't know, something that's like really nice for an outdoor chest area or retaining this centerpiece. But I've thought about it a lot and I really have no good ideas for what to put there or what I could even like build. I was thinking somewhat of like a thatched roof or just like campfire roof, but then that goes against the concept that there aren't many trees here and wood is worth its weight in gold over here. But I don't know, if anybody has any ideas, I would be super grateful because this has really been bugging me and I want to fix it next time we work on this village. So yeah, there's that. Over here, this is where I keep all the red sand and various building materials that we've used to construct the village. This has all been farmed from the very far Badlands to the northeast, which I do plan to reset the chunks for eventually, since we literally have cleared out all the red sand from that biome. Like, I want to say like 95% or more of it is gone at this point. For Halloween of 23, we again collected a bunch of pumpkin mobs, so this time we got 4 skeletons, they're buried over there, and we have probably close to 20 drowned in like zombies. That's why I'm avoiding that area because it's so loud. But I do want to put them in like guard stations throughout the village. The trick with that is preventing the golems from going after them, so I will have to test that in creative to devise a type of chamber that the two are not going to mess with each other, but you can see them just being around and just working here. So the long-term vision for this island is I want to build this all out with just a city and have a bunch of villagers here, and then also convert this into a very impressive tower. So I want to build just like a cylindrical tower or a circular tower that goes all the way up and then house the librarians up in this structure. You might notice there's some entrances and we'll check this out in just a second. But before I do want to show off our 500 subscriber monument. Oh my gosh, that's a creeper. That would have been really bad. Okay, so I want to show off our 500 subscriber monument. Thank you so much for subscribing. I never thought I'd get more than like maybe 10 subscribers on this channel. So I'm super grateful to everyone. And as of recording right now, we're at 555 subscribers. So again, I'm just truly grateful and thank you so much for the support. I hope the series has been enjoyable and it's a good use of your time either to chill or just like have something on while you're eating. I don't care. I just appreciate anybody who tunes in. Alright, so moving back over here, I realized I forgot another structure. So because it's a very arid climate, a lot of the villager food production is done underwater over here. And so we built a small little wheat farm and this green area as another part of the village. And while this is more or less underdeveloped at this point in time, I do want to expand the village out over here eventually. So kind of big plans for this village. We'll see if it's too ambitious in the future, but yeah, this is what we have built over here. This is semi-automatic, so there is a switch over here which you can pull and it will push down the wheat and we'll collect it. And I don't have hoppers actually because iron is a very precious resource in this world. I don't often come across it and I don't have an iron golem farm. Maybe another thing that we need to build soon. Yeah, not a very detailed build, but I thought it was a cool concept. Alright, so flying over here. So this is the current villager trading hall and it's kind of not majestic as we enter through the side here. But I have built this path where you can enter through here. Clearly, this level has not seen a lot of tender love and care, but if you go down here, we built this Small little chamber. And please excuse the mess, I'm in the progress of curing all the villagers one more time before I update the world. But as you can see, we have every type of terracotta block in this underground market that's very much inspired by bazaars. So we have every type of terracotta here, and very importantly, one stone trade for an emerald. And this is how I've fueled my ancient debris mining and nether hub escapades in this world, is by trading all of these folks. So in addition to those, we also have this fish market and produce and like just general food market over here. And this trade is pretty good. I need to cure them one more time to get the raw cod back down to 1. But the idea here is you can use all of these very common items to gather a lot of emeralds very, very quickly. And since we do have a guardian farm in this world, there are quite a few fishermen, because I think that trade is really, really overpowered with how easy it is to get raw cod. We also have armorers, as well as weaponsmiths and toolsmiths to give us all of our diamond tools as needed. And then finally over here, we have more masons that didn't have the intended terracotta trade, but again, that very useful stone trade and ite trades as well as quartz trades. I only have 2 librarians over here, and they have mending as well as silk touch, since those are the most frequently used enchants by me. And then we also have our clerics. And the reason they're over here is because we have a zombie spawner down in the mines below, as well as 2 spider spawners, which ultimately I would like to link up if possible, but certainly that is a future project for another time. We also have Fletchers for the string trade, if we ever do get around to building that spider farm. In the center, this is a scaled down replica of the island, and so you can kind of see the orange sand where we've built structures. This is intended to be the hill that we're in, and this is the other island. And then over here is meant to be the underwater crop farm. Unfortunately, there's not really a good use of depth in this map, but maybe that's something I could work on in the future. And so this last quadrant is a little bit of a story, but basically, I was trying to figure out how to get villager trades back down to 1 emerald. I totally did not realize that you could cure them 5 times, and I was only curing them 4 times, so that was mistake number 1. The other was that there's 2 types of discounts. There's one that you get for curing the villager, and there's another one from gossiping. And so because these had only been cured 4 times, and they were not gossiping, their trade prices continually hiked up, similar to that of these fishermen. Originally they were at 1 per emerald, and now they're at 4. And so all of these villagers were getting up to like 9 stone or like 6 carrots for 1 emerald. And so I was originally just gonna like leave them there and not deal with it. But over the course of making this entire place, I figured it out, and I've cured them all 5 times, and hopefully they just maintain their 1 item trades before I update the world. And yeah, that's the zombie I've been using to cart around and have them cured that 5th time. But that about does it for the villager trading aisle over here. We do have one other thing within this local region that I do want to show off. There are 2 other builds in this world, so we do have 2 outposts. One is more or less a winter house, which we had built last year on our Winter Island adventure, where we went all the way from this island, snaked around, went through this mesa, went through this desert continent, and then finally discovered this winter island where we built a small cabin right over here. And so I'm not going to go out over there for the sake of time, but that is one build. And another build is all the way past this Badlands biome, like even further. And you know what, I'll just show you the map. So before updating this world, I did want to load as much 1.16 terrain as possible, because there's just something really nostalgic about it, and you just don't get these large oceans in the newer terrain generation. And so when I'm referring to that other base, it's all the way over here on this mega taiga island, and it's right there in the center. And we built this in the last episode, so if you'd like to check out what that looks like, I'd recommend you go ahead and check out that episode. But yeah, in addition to making that base, certainly I loaded a lot of ocean. I'm not sure if I want to keep all this stuff, but I did want to get as much of the red sand loaded as possible in the instance that we do want to gather more of this for our villager city. And I just thought there were some more cool islands over here, as well as very interesting terrains like the Shattered Savanna, which is really, really breathtaking, especially with shaders, and then some larger islands up here in the north, and even more islands as well. So yeah, if there's not a world download, this is why. It's over 12 gigabytes as of the recording of this video. But hopefully I can, here's what I'll do. If enough people want, I can delete all of the unnecessary terrain. So I'll keep this core stuff right here, and I'll delete everything except for this island and maybe like this area. And that way the file size should be much smaller, and you can load this if you want to explore it on 1.16. I don't think I can find a way to host a 15 gigabyte world, so sorry if you wanted the terrain, but yeah, that's kind of the only reasonable solution I can think of. Okay, anyways, so that's why we're not going to go to those two builds, but the last build we have is our Guardian Farm. And so originally it was just a sea temple, and we had this little raft here with 2 cows, which I feel so bad for. They've just been marooned on this thing for like 2 years, and they probably despise me, at this point. So I feel bad for them. But yeah, we built this raft, and eventually, after many, many months, we're able to clear out this entire region and drain it and build this farm. This farm is a little too productive, I would say, and we have as many sea lanterns as we could possibly want. Because we cleared out this area, it's also where we gather our slime, as there do seem to be a couple of slime chunks around here. As you can see, there's really not a theme going on here, and I'm not really sure what I want to build in this area. It's so extensive, and it feels like such a waste that I haven't built anything here, but I've really not had any good ideas for things to construct. So if anybody has ideas or recommendations, please, I'm all ears. In any case, you have the option of converting this to an EXP farm, so there's that, and then I've recently installed this enchanting setup, and then right now we don't have, okay, I've muted this part of the video, but essentially we just have a little bit of manual storage here, and definitely something I need to work on in the future, but we're not going to do that anytime soon for the sake of everyone's ears and not being annoyed. But yeah, that pretty much does it for the world tour. It probably does not seem like this is 30 episodes worth of building, but the whole goal of this series is to improve building, have fun, and just experience YouTube. I've been really grateful for all the connections that I've made, and your comments and kindness have really gotten me through some rough times, so I do appreciate that. And I don't regret anything about starting this world or series, even though it might not seem like the most accomplished of survival worlds. But yeah, with that, I want to just say thank you one more time for watching to the end of this video. If you did, please comment Santa, just for kicks. I really appreciate everyone who's tuned in, and hopefully you've enjoyed the series, and hope to see you in the next episode, where we update this world after 2 years of playing on 1.16. And with that, I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week and holiday. Take care, and bye-bye for now.